Hello, everybody, and it's rowing again with Marlene and Rebecca. We're here. It's lockdown training week 6. Hey, Marlene.
Crazy. Rebecca, we're getting batty, but so is everybody else.
I kind of figure that's the way it is. First, a quick word from our sponsors. William Marnie, finding good quality clothing when you're athletic can be a challenge. And William Marnie have designed dress shirts for men, for rowers whose arms and backs are more muscled than your average. Their range is designed from the very ground up for fit athletic men, and they describe each shirt as having detailing in style, fit, and fabrics that will change the way you experience clothes. Now, you can get started with a 10% discount coupon, which is RowingChat10, and go to rowing.chat/sponsors, and you'll find all the details there. My second request is for people to do our audience survey. I've mentioned it before. If you haven't done it, please, this is the week you're going to do it. Here I am with one of my very favorite rowing mugs designed by Anna Railton of a stick man she's only got one oar. Maybe it's a pair. Maybe it's a cut through of an 8. Get a drink. Click on the link that's on the home page of rowing.chat and please complete our audience survey. We've already got some really great insights from you about things you like about the shows on the Rowing Chat Network, things that you don't like, which we appreciate because we'll see what we can do to improve. So please fill that in and tell us all about yourselves. Now, back to the show. Marlene has a surprise for us.
Yes, everyone. Many years ago, I lived in Newfoundland. And if you don't know where Newfoundland is the easternmost province of Canada. St. John's is the capital, and Cape Spear is the easternmost point of the North American continent, and there's a lighthouse there. However, what's most important about St. John's is, 1, I got married there. 2 is it hosts the oldest rowing regatta in North America, the first Wednesday of every August every year. And the regatta back in 1992 was the first project that I had as a journalist, and I covered the regatta, and it was my very first publication. And since we all need a little bit of upbeat music, I thought I would play you a song called Up the Pond. And Kitty Vitty Pond is where we row the regatta. It's 6-man or 6 women sweep boats, coxed 6s, built by Hudson, fixed seats with concept 2 oars. And everybody in St. John's rows. And they train year-round for this. Every crew is allowed 1 hour of training per day when the season is on, and that's it. And then on regatta day, you race off in Henley style until finally there's a winner. So there are many songs devoted to the regatta, but this is one of my favorite, and I thought I would play it for you right now. It's called Up the Pond. It's coming.
Just imagine it's the first Wednesday in August. Get out to Kitty Vitty Lake about 8 o'clock in the morning. It's regatta day. You see 5 little boats sliding across the top of the pond, and all you hear is, "Are you ready, number 1? Are you ready, number 2? Are you ready, number 3? Are you ready, number 4? Are you ready, number 5? You can feel the silence coming along. It's the only place where you see an old man get up with a shotgun in front of 40,000 people, and nobody gets nervous. Are you all ready?
Oh, Rebecca, I love that you showed those pictures. The boats, the coxswains often stand right up, as
I
you
can
showed a few
see.
pictures of. They stand right up and they just shout whatever they're shouting and they go for it. And Kiribati Pond is 1,500 meters. It's located in downtown St. John's, and I actually lived in an apartment building that was right above the boathouse. And from 5 o'clock in the morning, they put the four practice boats down at the dock. And each crew, as I said, has 1 hour of practice. So the boats go down at 5. The next crew comes in at 6. They're waiting at the dock. One crew gets out, the next one goes in, and it goes from sunrise to sunset until regatta day. So it's quite an amazing festival. And when it's called Regatta Day, it's, as I said, it's the first Wednesday in August. It's announced, if the conditions are right, Regatta Day is declared, and everything in St. John's is closed. The banks, the post office, and the entire city goes to the shores of Kiribati Pond, and it's just a huge celebration. And that is the oldest rowing regatta in North America.
That is
So
fantastic.
it's loads of fun.
I love
Loads of fun. It's loads of fun.
I love local regattas where everyone gets involved. I rowed for a while at Marlow in the UK, and Marlow Regatta was similar. The entire town closed. All the people from all the adjacent towns and villages came for a great day out on the riverbank. A lot of them obviously weren't there for watching the racing, but everybody loved it.
I mean, that's so much about what rowing is all about. I mean, that's the other side of rowing. You know, the side of when, I mean, we don't talk a lot about the etiquette and the culture, but that's a huge part of why we row. You know, it isn't only going to races, you know, which people are suffering from right now because so many races have been canceled. And, you know, lately my message has been to people, love the process. You know, you're an oarsman, you're an oarswoman, you're a rower, you're a sculler, however you want to identify yourself, but it's part of the process. And simply because we don't have a few races coming up doesn't mean that we're going to throw the whole thing to the wind. You know, it's just think of the Olympic athletes right now who are, you know, I mean, I've been talking to the people who were getting ready for Olympic trials, the athletes that train at Craftsbury, and they're like, yeah, well, we would love to go this summer, but we're adjusting. We're fine. We're back in training. They're back at it right away. And, you know, so just adjust, be flexible. And, you know, if you're not into the process of the rowing lifestyle, you know, banking all your bucks on a race is dangerous, in my opinion, because, you know, the race might happen, might not happen. Something might happen that you don't go to the race, you know, and if you haven't enjoyed the entire process along the way, you know, where are we left with that, you know? So I think, you know, I think it's something to think about.
It is. And it's also a great motivator when you're feeling down and tired. And I personally had a couple of really tough days this past week, which I would rather not recall. And then I ended up on a text chat with some of my crewmates, and one of them basically reminded me that she was also having a tough time, and we found the training session hard, and we were just doubting ourselves.
Yeah, this week, you know, definitely. I mean, we talked about last week, people were starting to get a little bit stir crazy. I mean, this week, a couple people have fallen off the edge a little bit, I would say. And people have definitely needed an extra boost. And so I've been talking a lot about this all week. But, you know, in the long run, it's some regattas, it's a short period of time. It doesn't take away from doing what you love doing, and training and rowing is an important part of your life. And this is by no means taking that away from you. We're just not having a couple of events that we usually like to have, and we look forward to it, but it really doesn't change your long-term goal. It's just inconvenient, it's just inconvenient, but people have been telling me, like, it's just not the right time to still be on the erg. I'm getting overuse injuries. So my reaction to that was, okay, why are you getting overuse injuries? You're getting overuse injuries because perhaps you're not recovering properly. Maybe you're not quite taking care of yourself as good as you should be. You could be slacking off on your diet, could be slacking off on your sleep. You might be having a couple more extra cocktails like we talked about earlier. Or just go do a little bit more cross training, get some more variety into it, but come October or November or whenever your next race is, you want to be happy you didn't let up on your training and let everything you've done all over the winter disappear, and then you've got to totally rebuild in August or September. That doesn't need to happen. You can do your low intensity cross training. It fits in beautifully there. Do 2 or 3 specific workouts on the erg if they have to be on the erg. I think soon many of you are going to be able to get out in singles depending on where you live. So just to adapt, be flexible, but don't lose the fitness that you have right now from over the winter. That's the worst thing, is to have to try to build it back up again. At least maintain it.
For people who are watching us, do you need an extra boost? And what do you do for yourself when you need an extra motivation to carry on training? Send us your ideas while we're live on air. Now, carrying on training sometimes is easier said than done. But for myself, I'm a great believer in both the carrot and the stick. It's supposed to be hard. You train to make physiological adaptations.
Well, I am known for writing hard workouts, I have to admit. However, I don't write workouts that A, I couldn't do myself, and B, or that I have not done myself. Any workout that I give somebody, I have done that workout, so I know what that workout feels like. But also, I do write hard workouts, and I know that. However, I'm thinking of the person who's got to row 3 1K races in one day, or the person who's got to row 3 races 4 days in a row at a national championships. She who is in the best form on Sunday afternoon on race 12 is going to win the gold medal. So, I'm looking at, you need reserves, you need depth. It's going to be hard today, but okay, you're going to recover from it. Your brain doesn't remember pain, so you're going to be fine. Your body has no memory for pain. You can just remember, like, oh, I was sitting at the finish line and everything hurt, but you're really not going to remember it. But the point is that there's a lot of talk about mental toughness, confidence. That comes from a fitness base. If you have not done this in practice, you are not going to do it in a race. And you have to have absolute confidence in your ability to do the best that you can on the given day for where you're at. And, that means you've got to do some work. You have to do some work. And we don't aim to create programs that are unrealistic, but they're not necessarily going to be easy, but because you've got to know you can do it. If you need to jack up to 34, you need to know that you can do that if that's what it takes at that moment to win the race. Or, as I told Rebecca when we were starting, a sculler that I worked with for quite a number of years, he rode to the start of the Head of the Charles from the finish line where the singles were, got there, didn't have his bow marker, didn't have his bib on, said, "Oh my Lord, I can't start the race," rode back up, ran to his car, got his bib, got his bow marker, got back in his boat, rode back down to the start, got to the start in time, and then rode his best ever race. So he did the Head of the Charles twice, and he had his best ever race. And, you know, he said, if I hadn't done that work, I would have never even accomplished that. But not only that, I would not have had the confidence to know that I could do that. And, you know, you've got to have those reserves, and that reserve comes in training. Read the Kiwi Pair. I mean, like, oh my God, what these guys did, you know? So anyway, you've got to have that. And, you know, training needs to challenge you. It doesn't need to, we don't want to put you in a state of under recovery. You're in charge of your own recovery, but you know, you've got to work if you're going to win races. And if that's your goal, you know, you've got to do the work. It isn't going to magically materialize just because you want it to. So there is some grit that's got to go into it.
So let's talk a bit about gratitude. So in this past weekend in the UK and in Australasia, we have been doing special sporting events, particularly rowing ones, in honour of our veterans. So in Australia and New Zealand, Anzac Day is our equivalent of Veterans Day. And in the UK, they realised that a very large number of charities make a lot of their fundraising money during the London Marathon event, which was scheduled on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And so a ton of people got together and said, let us do an equivalent workout and fundraise for our favourite charities, even though the marathon's not happening. And that was then adapted in New Zealand and Australia. So in the UK, they were doing 26.2 anything. So that could be paces down your balcony, walks around the block, anything you wanted to represent the marathon distance. And in New Zealand, they made it 2,504, which is the 25th of the 4th month, which was the date of Anzac Day. And we were all encouraged to row that distance and then log our meters on the Rowing New Zealand and the Australia Rowing websites and make a donation. Here's the interesting thing. We have a novice group who've been training with the club, and I saw in their WhatsApp group that a lot of them had encouraged each other if they had an erg to go and do the distance or to do something equivalent. Very interesting. 5 weeks off rowing, and oh my golly, they are finding that distance, even at a maximum rate of 26, really challenging. We definitely need to stick with the program.
You have to. At least you can maintain 3. If you keep up on your sessions 3 times a week, that's maintenance. You're not going to gain, but you're not going to lose. So, you know, 3 times a week is a minimum, but, you know, and that's not a ton, but, you know, if you just like blow off for 2 weeks, 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, yeah, you're going to face some reality when you come back, and you have to now you've blown off for 4 weeks. You have to allow 4 weeks for you to get back to where you were. So that's 8 weeks, you know, so now it's 8 weeks, right? So
I didn't realize that. So talk a little bit about the physiology of why it takes 4 weeks to come back to fitness that you've lost. I'm taking, this is short term. We're not talking years and years.
Right. No. But I mean, generally, it's more related to if you've had an injury. You always have to plan, however long you've been off, you have to plan that amount of time to get back to where you were. But I do think that, you know, you haven't completely lost everything, but it's going to take you a week to kind of get back into the groove. And it might take you 2 weeks to start to, say if you were doing some anaerobic threshold work or some, you know, 24, 26 rating, it's going to take you another week or 2 to be able to kind of start to hit those ratings and feel okay about it. And so by the 4th week, you're probably going to be back into your groove. And, you know, it just takes that long. I don't know why. Honestly, I honestly don't know why, but, you know, it really does. There's kind of like a transition week. It's going to take a week or 2 to get back into your rhythm. And, maybe by week 4, you're going to start to feel like, oh, okay, well, I can pick up where I left off. But the question is, do you really want to have to go through that? Like, I personally hate going through that. I don't want to go through that. It's one thing to miss one day, but don't miss 2 or 3 or 4, because you're going to have to go through that. Like, I hate going through that period. So it's consistency. In the end, consistency always wins. I think when push comes to shove, the athletes who have been really consistent have that depth, and they're going to be able to pull it off. And it creates confidence. Your training regime creates confidence, and you need confidence when you're going into a competitive situation.
I fully back that. Now, let's talk about how we express gratitude for the situations that we're in. So for myself, I do spend a little bit of time looking at old rowing photographs. And this week I found some lovely memories, which I'd forgotten about. And luckily, I wrote the names of the crews on the back of the photos.
You have to, yeah. Actually, getting into my scrapbooks is one of those things I have on my, someday maybe list, because I definitely have a big pile. And many years ago, my house burned down, and the only things that survived were my rowing medal, some of my rowing medals, and my boat and my scrapbooks. Everything else was destroyed. So they are kind of important to me. I haven't gone back and looked at them, but I need to. But I think from the gratitude point of view, I'm just really appreciative that I get to spend my entire day talking to rowers, and they're I mean, at the end of the day, I need a break, but I mean, in general, I think that people have been so great through this whole entire episode, and people are really hanging in there. I think this week has been a little tough on some people. Just people are saying I shouldn't be erging, I should be out in the boat and that. But I just had to say, you know what? This is temporary. Just keep going. But I really appreciate coaching live, and I'm not able to do that right now because all of our camps have been canceled. All of my spring camps were canceled. All of my early summer camps are canceled. So, I'm kind of really missing seeing people live on the water right now. But I'm glad I get to talk to people every day, and I'm just glad to be, filling this little part of the rowing world, and I don't know, doing what I can.
I've got a very nice feel-good story for us here, which was shared with me this week. Female rowers in Venice using gondolas to deliver groceries to the elderly in their local lockdown. And look at these gorgeous photographs. Here's I think she's smiling. She's wearing a face mask, lady holding a crate with some groceries in brown paper bags. And it says the group of women is using their love for rowing to help their community members. They're all part of a non-profit called Venice, and they've been traveling by gondola, delivering groceries to the elderly. They wear masks and gloves, and here they are in their photos, loading up their gondolas with baskets of food and making their way down the canals of Venice to deliver them to needy people. And look at this lovely photograph. There you are, 2 ladies in a gondola, one up on the back and one standing further forward, and off they go with their groceries. Isn't that marvelous?
That's amazing. And actually, to be a gondolier or a gondola rower in Venice is actually a pretty complicated process. They have to go through an entire apprenticeship in order to do that. So, in order to be a certified gondolier, you have to pass a huge number of tests for maneuvering and steering, and it isn't so easy the way it looks. So they're quite accomplished and skilled. It's a serious profession in Venice. So
certainly it is. Those are the ones to be the sort of taxi rider gondolas, and I believe there are family connections, and the prow of the bow of the boat has a little S-shaped curve, and the number of horizontal bars reflects which family you're from. You can tell if you ever go look at photos of Venetian gondolas. But I don't know if women are allowed to be part of that. I slightly
I've actually been to Venice quite a few times on my way to Slovenia, because I love to row in Bled, and there's a hydrofoil that leaves from Venice that goes to Isola in Slovenia, and then you can get to Bled. I have never seen a female gondolier in the commercial ranks, but these women obviously know how to steer a gondolier, and it's a whole different, style of rowing too. So they must be in the family.
They must be.
They've got to be.
Now, I've been doing a little bit of work this week, starting from a post that was put on the Masters Rowing International group about what are the best rowing books. And I confess that this is a project that I've been working on since December, when it was first put up. And here's what I have succeeded in doing. It's a blog post started. Shannon Borum first asked the question, looking for book suggestions, fiction and non-fiction about rowing. And we got a lot of comments. And I have gone and researched them all on Amazon, and every single one of them there is listed with a link in case you should want to buy one. So the website link is fastermastersrowing.com/best rowing books 2020. Please go take a look. And in the meantime, I'm going to do a book plug. So the first book plug is with great thanks to Scott Patterson, who is an Australian movie maker who I met in Henley Royal Regatta a couple of years ago, because he's been filming and also writing this book. It's called The Oarsmen, The Remarkable Story of the Men Who Rowed from the Great War to Peace. And this is an actual photograph of an 8-oar crew on the Hard at Putney in London, holding their little pencil oars, and they were practicing for the Peace Regatta. And it all came about through a fantastic quirk of history. When the men signed up to enlist in the army to go and fight, their contract terms stated that they would stay until the end of the war plus 4 months. Well, that sounds fine in theory. In practice, it turned out to be remarkably difficult. By the end of the First World War, there were in the order of 2 million servicemen from Australia and New Zealand who were in Europe, obviously as enlisted men, away from home. And after the war ended, they were getting demobilized or demobbed and repatriated. But they only had capacity in ships to take 300,000 men a month back to Australia and New Zealand. And as a consequence, there was a very large number of increasingly bored men stranded in Europe. And they came up with this idea of having a peace regatta. And this is the story of the men who rowed in that peace regatta in 1919. So I commend the book to you. I can't tell you what happens at the end because I haven't finished it yet. Thank you to Scott for writing the story. And yeah, if you like a bit of history, if you like a good rowing book, there it is. It's called The Oarsmen. Now, my other long-term project is each year I write or edit an anthology called Rowing Tales. This is last year's book with a lovely picture of the kiwi pear on the front cover. Not the kiwi pear, it's the current kiwi pear, done as a slightly abstract image. It's rather lovely. Vera Busco is the artist. I don't know if you can see it a little better there. I'm looking for stories. So if you've got a rowing story to tell, triumph, disaster, it doesn't matter. We would love to hear from you. What are the stories that you've got to tell? So I'm going to read you a story now. This is the opening story from the 2019 book. It's called Megaphone Malfunction. I was out coaching the squad in the Upper Harbour. There were a group of athletes, all in singles. And when we got to turnaround point, one of the girls manoeuvred her boat close to the coaching launch. She started explaining all sorts of spurious stuff about the row, about her poor technique, about her bad state of mind, and generally complaining about her rowing. I picked up my megaphone and started tapping the side of it, holding it to my ear, and then tapping it again with a puzzled look on my face. "What are you doing?" the athlete asked. "I'm checking my megaphone. It has a whining sound coming out of it. I hope it'll go away," I replied. She sculled off. So that was thanks to Chris Brake, who sent us that true story. But if you have a story, we're very happy to publish them anonymously or to name great people who you've rowed with. Please record them. You can just do a voice recording or you can write them out and just send them in to us. I would love to have them. I compile them from now on, and then I start the detailed editing in September so that it's ready for publication in time for the Christmas holidays. Now, we had a lovely email in from a listener about a lady in Invercargill. So this is Frank, who's one of our most loyal listeners, who is doing Pilates classes online through her Facebook group. So I will add that to our blog post of all of the COVID-19 rowing resources. Please, if you have a resource that might be helpful or useful for anyone who's listening, shoot it on over. And just a reminder that if you want the COVID-19 free training program, that's still available. The link is on the screen now. And I can also include that in the show notes in case anybody wants it. So Marlene, final thoughts?
Concept 2 has the marathon challenge going on from May 1st to May 15th. So that could be inspiring for some people.
I will write that down, and I will also put the link to that into the show notes. Yep, a marathon is a very particular form of exercise.
Yes, definitely, and that's a challenge that they have every year. But I think that you can submit your results between the 1st and the 15th. Fantastic. So that's something to aim for if you're not on the water. I don't know if you're allowed, if you do it on the water, I don't know if you can record your meters, but I think it's just, I think you can do it if you're on one of the ergs. So.
Excellent. Thanks everybody for joining us live. Thanks for those who are listening at home. We love it when you listen in. We also love it when you send us your comments and your welcomes. We had a nice little welcome from someone saying "Kia ora, Rebecca," which again, that's what New Zealanders say. It's Te Reo Maori. That means hey, hi, welcome, nice to see you. And I think that's all that we have for this week's lockdown training, week 6. If you have anything specific you'd like us to cover in future weeks, please get in touch. And there's another thank you from Gary. He runs the Cape Fear Rowing Association.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Where is that?
That is East Coast. That's East Coast off of Massachusetts, I believe. Yes. I think it's the Blackburn Challenge.
Excellent. And so we'll play you out to another rendition of the Up the Pond song.
Yes, we'll sign off with a few tunes. I'm trying to get the tunes. Oh, where are they? Oh, I've got to turn it up. kind of like, Wilmington, Cape Fear. Yes. It's Wilmington, North Carolina. So everybody pick up your oars. You'll feel better.
So till next time, everybody, thanks for being with us and goodbye.